We're going over 7 very simple strategies you can use today to eat out and maintain a social life whilst losing weight. These are the exact strategies that we use with all of our clients who drop anywhere from 5 to 49 kilos. Strategy number 1 is push meals back on that day you're gonna have a social event. So for example, I always just have my morning coffee. Highly recommend that. Here's also another little bonus tip, to be honest. Caffeine can help decrease your appetite a little bit or help offset some hunger. So first thing in the morning, I recommend just smashing a coffee if you enjoy it. If you don't, it's totally fine. But try to push your meals back a little bit. That way you can get closer to the social event with eating less calories throughout the day, which we're gonna run through multiple different tactics on how to do that. But for example, I'm about to have breakfast, which I'll show you what that is, and it's 10 o'clock. It's a bit later than normal. So up at 5, and I'd usually eat brekkie around like 9, but today, just doing some work, filming a few vids, and now I'm starving. But this actually helps a ton. So I'll show you what to have for brekkie. Strategy number 2 is to daily calorie bank. Now personally, I highly recommend just daily banking over weekly calorie banking, which is a different strategy, and I'll explain why in a second. So while I'm having brekkie, daily calorie banking, what we highly recommend to clients is to save anywhere from 700 to like 1200 calories for a social meal. Now, of course, that number completely depends on how many calories you actually have to eat per day. The more calories you're on, the more calories you can save. It's much easier. But you know, if you're on low calories, like 1500 or something, obviously you probably can't save 1200 calories for dinner, but you might be able to save like 600-700. So that's definitely one thing to keep in mind. What I would also do with your daily calorie banking is make sure whatever meal that you usually have throughout the day that's your highest calorie meal, for most people it's probably going to be dinner, you're going to swap that meal for the social meal. Even if your social event is like say lunch, still take your dinner out and then have that, and then you have your usual lunch meal later. Hopefully that makes sense. But the reason I like this better, and we find it works way better with clients, is because you're only adjusting one day of the week. You ideally also don't want to eat out all the time every day, otherwise it does get very hard to drop body fat consistently. Not impossible, but much harder.
It opens up by itself. Right?
Yeah. High-tech shit, eh? Yeah. So weekly calorie banking is where, say you take, let's say you're on 1800 calories and that's your deficit to lose body fat. By the way, if you don't know how many calories you should be eating, I'll leave my calculator in the description for you. It's entirely free. So you're on 1800 calories. Weekly calorie bank is maybe where you take like 200 to 300 calories from each day, and then say you do 200 over 6 days, you've got 1200 calories to use on the weekend. That sounds great in theory, but the reason we find it doesn't work well is because those other 6 days, you're already in a deficit of say maybe 500 calories. Now you're in a deficit of 700. So it can be much harder on those 6 days than it has to be. Plus, don't forget, you're probably going to be training on those days, so you want the calories to train harder, recover. Now, some people find it works well for them. Personally, I find it doesn't work well for most people. The other reason is because I've seen it happen a lot where people will just save calories for the weekend, they'll calorie bank weekly, and it turns into this restrict and binge cycle. So then Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday is like much less calories than they really need. And then the weekend's just like this kind of all out blowout because they think they've got an extra 1000 calories to use or something like that. So that's why I don't recommend it. Try daily banking. I think it'll work for you so much better.
I was like,
it's a lot, eh?
Yeah.
Is that too much?
No, it's good. Just like I'm wondering how you're not out of breath.
Oh, well, I am now. With the daily banking, you're probably gonna have to slightly adjust the meals on that day as well. So for example, I'm meal prep these, and it's just, that also helps a ton. Like I was saying, first of all, I've pushed my meal back by an extra hour. So now it's like 10 o'clock. And I think we're going out for dinner like 5:30 or something. Anyways, and we'll show you what I get at dinner, by the way. With the overnight Weet-Bix, my current breakfast is probably like 500-600 calories. This is only like 400 to 450 with similar amounts of protein, and it's pretty big volume. Like there's 3 or 4 Weet-Bix in here. We've got blueberries, peanut butter, YoPro on top. So this is actually pretty filling. It's high fiber. There's a Zeus hair on there. That's what happens when you own a husky. Your hairs go everywhere. So now I've already saved, I've pushed my meals back and I've saved a couple hundred calories from my normal breakfast. So that's what I highly recommend doing. Of course, depending on what you're eating, you have to look where you can lower the calories. You want to lower them through carbs and fats, so you don't want to lower the protein amount if you can. Little bonus tip. If you can, on that day, increase like your movement, so a few more daily steps, or like we just hit a leg session, which ideally just lined up with when we're going out for dinner, it will help a little bit. Of course, you're not gonna burn tons of calories like hitting a workout, but if you can, burn a few more steps, definitely do that. Another little bonus tip, which will kind of tie into strategy number 3, is to just make sure I don't hit this Lambo in front of me. Wait, cars in Gold Coast are next level. There's so many nice cars here. Anyways, I'm gonna simply swap a meal that I would usually have after the gym. So I'd usually have like 3 or 4 throughout the day. I'm gonna simply swap one for a protein shake. So I'm still gonna get my protein in straight after the gym. This is only 184 calories with 30 grams of protein. These ones taste pretty bomb too. So that's just another tip to keep me going, because it's already nearly 2:30. We've only had one meal and then a protein shake. To be honest, I'm not hungry at all. I don't know if legs just ruined my appetite, but not hungry at all. So I'm gonna have this, and then I'm gonna go home, show you more of strategy 3, which is high protein, low calorie, and high volume meals throughout the day, which you're probably doing on a diet anyway, but you can tweak them like we just did there to actually save more calories, and then you can bank for that social meal at night. So go make one of those meals. I'll show you it in case you want to give it a try. And then yeah, Bob's your uncle, eh? Strategy number 3 is high volume, low calorie, high protein meals. And you're probably already doing that if you're trying to lose fat, but just try and tweak them even more to calorie bank. So what we got here, so my usual lunch is like 600 to 700 calories. This right here is the same. It's actually more protein than my usual lunch, and it's about 400 to 450 calories. We have chicken breast, just cooked in seasoning. Low calorie wraps are only 100 calories each. Heaps of salads, and then just a little bit of Nando's Perinade sauce to make it taste better. This is gonna be absolutely elite. I've already had that shake as well. So my protein target is sweet. Like even if I only get 20, 30 grams for dinner, which I know I'll probably get more, I'm sorted, good to go. So we ticked off protein. I'm not even hungry at all. Well, I am hungry, but I'm not like, I'm good, and it's 3 o'clock. So this will probably last me to dinner. But I do have one more tip just before dinner that I think is gonna help a ton. Smash this down, good to go. So for example, rice, you swap it for low calorie wraps. Even bread, if you're having chicken sandwich, you could swap it for something that's lower calorie. You could just have one wrap and even add more chicken in. Stuff like that. Just little tweaks. If you usually have a high calorie sauce, swap it for a super low calorie sauce. Just little things like that. If you have cheese on there, take the cheese off for that day. You can save 50, 100 calories there. All those little things across the day will add up, and you have heaps more calories to play with for dinner. Strategy number 4 is eat something before you go out. Now, let me explain, because I know that sounds a little bit silly. Like, why would you do that? Aren't you meant to be calorie banking? But I used to make this mistake all the time, especially when you're cutting, you're in a calorie deficit. Your hunger is going to be higher than normal. So what I used to do is just push my food back and really save as many calories as I can and just not eat anything until dinner. But the problem is, then you get there, you're absolutely ravenous and you just want to eat the entire menu, and it's really hard to control yourself. So little hack I found, and my clients, well, I should say our clients, AG clients, will back me up with this one. If you have something small before you go, maybe 1 to 2 hours before you go, a little bit of protein in there, a little bit of volume, a little bit of fiber, it can really help you not rock up absolutely starving and want to inhale the entire menu. So the entire restaurant, I should say. So what I personally do is something like a Wicked Sisters, or if you want to get even lower calorie, something like one of the little Yopros or Yaguris. These are 15 protein, 95 calories. Wicked Sisters taste unreal. These are 175 cal, 16 protein. You can pair that. This is what I would personally do. I would get a Yaguri and I would pair it with a whole punnet. So like 250 grams of strawberries. That's only going to be, it's going to be 15, 16 grams of protein and only like 200 calories, something like that. So super, super high, well, not super high volume, but a little bit of volume, a little bit of fiber, a little bit of protein, you'll be good to go. That'll tie you over until you get there, and then you won't be absolutely starving. Highly recommend give that a try. My personal rule, and it depends on how many calories you have, try to keep the little pre-dinner snack 250 calories or less. Strategy number 5 is to look up the menu beforehand. Now, this one, it is optional, but it is highly recommended because it can make the whole process so much smoother. You often, this is feedback we get from clients all the time, is if you look at the menu beforehand, you won't rock up to the restaurant completely overwhelmed by 45 different choices, and then you just end up picking the most tastiest thing but the highest calorie thing on the menu. Now, please keep in mind, a little side note as well, like sometimes it's totally fine just to go out and eat and get whatever you want. That's sweet. But the point of this video is if you're doing it on a weekly basis, or if you do eat out more than once a week or even every 10 days or so, you do want to make some decent choices, or your fat loss progress is just going to be so much slower and harder than it needs to be. So what I'm going to show you is how I just quickly jump on, have a look at the menu. I've been to this place a few times, so I do know what I'm going to get, but I'm going to show you kind of what to look out for. But before that, how's the new office setup? Got my little mini fridge there with the goods. By the way, flat pack, just over it, eh? I'm going to show you why. Ready? Look at this clip right here. Flat packs. Never again. So depending on where you're going is going to make a difference in terms of, you know, how hard it will be or how easy it will be. So we're going to a teppanyaki place for dinner, which makes it fairly easy, but what you want to do is avoid the deep fried stuff. Like that's obviously going to be absolutely packed with calories, or even some of the meats, like for example, hopefully you can see that, like the Wagyu is going to be so much more calories than something like tuna, or there's grilled chicken on here somewhere as well. Grilled chicken, there's also leaner cuts of steak, which is probably what I'm gonna get. Fried rice, not too bad, not amazing. The skewers would be pretty good. The fried tempura definitely be packed with calories. And then of course, any of the sauces and stuff they chuck on the side. But there's a good few options here, so I'm not gonna keep scrolling. This place is absolutely bomb, but I'll show you when I get there. Strategy 6 is a drink or dessert, ideally not both. Now, of course, if you don't get a drink or dessert, you're gonna save more calories, but sometimes that's a little bit boring. So there's a few ways you can do this, and I'll be 100% honest, I rarely ever drink. My days of slamming 17 Coronas are highly behind me, but I just wanted to show you an example. So these Burley Big Heads, for example, this is like a low calorie, low carb beer. There's only 88 calories for one, whereas like Cameraman Cooks, on the other hand, going for the pint of Asahi, where this is like 240 calories. So you're talking nearly triple the calories. So I could have 3 of these, one of those, or can be even better, like Brit and go a Coke Zero, 0 calories. So a few options there. Now, if you wanted to have dessert, I probably would go for something like that and make sure you got no calories in it whatsoever. Strategy number 7 is to simply just make a semi-smart choice when you're eating out in terms of what you're ordering. Now, I'll be honest, this is probably way cleaner and lower calorie than I'd usually order, but this place is elite. Like this whole plate here, it's just sirloin steak, which is pretty lean. You can even cut the fat off. Prawns, this whole plate, and some veggies. Like you can see there's a bit of oil and sauce there, but like that plate is pretty much pure protein. And then instead of some of the others got fried rice, I just got steamed white rice. Chuck that on, you're good to go. And then you got the sauce on the side, so you don't have to use all of it because the satay sauce can be pretty dense in calories. Sorted. That's how easy it can be. If you stick away from the fried stuff, all the dirty pizzas, burgers, although that stuff's all good sometimes, if you do it consistently, or I guess I should say more commonly, go for that like 80% of the time, you'll be sweet.